celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Knoxville World's Fair. Tonight we're learning one of the major pieces to the memorable 6 months is seeing its last rider, perhaps. Our Will Puckett joining us. Will, we're learning that massive Ferris wheel that stood right at the foot of Neyland Stadium during the fair is being torn down even as we speak.
Yeah, Ted, as we speak. After the fair ended, the ride that stood a whopping 165 feet in the air made its way to western New York to a little lake community known as Darien Lake. It stood at what is now a Six Flags for nearly 4 decades and became a centerpiece of the region. Tonight we talked with a western New York native now living in East Tennessee and a Knoxville native who say the Ferris wheel was something to behold.
It's a real landmark, has been a real landmark in the area, especially the Ferris wheel, because you can see it for miles around.
Colleen Miller is remembering the behemoth that marked the skyline of her hometown in western New York.
Six Flags bought it, and so the first thing they'd bought was this Ferris wheel, and people came from miles around, and still do, to see it because it's so huge.
Now living in East Tennessee, she's recognizing that this massive piece of theme park equipment carries significance far beyond the Empire State.
I couldn't believe it. I had been on it many, many times, and I'm pretty sure there's a sign there, too, that says that it came from Knoxville, but that was way before I knew. I moved here in 2009, so I never put 2 and 2 together.
4 decades later, what was once the world's largest Ferris wheel is now coming down.
And I guess all things must pass.
Jack Neely with the Knoxville History Project rode the Ferris wheel at the 1982 World's Fair.
The Ferris wheel was something to brag about. It was 150, 165 feet tall, and that's very tall for a Ferris wheel. I think it's like 3 times as tall as your typical carnival Ferris wheel.
It was positioned at the foot of Neyland Stadium, and the ride itself was a staple for many on their World's Fair visit.
It was something that was talked about, and I think there are people today that remember that as the single best thing about the fair.
All right, Ted, Neely said for him when he rode the Ferris wheel, he really doesn't remember seeing any East Tennessee monuments that stuck out to him. But for folks who rode it in western New York, they said they could see buildings in Buffalo that are some nearly 30 miles away from where they're at.
Not clear that it's just going to be scrapped and thrown in the dump.
Yeah, correct. We reached out to Six Flags, and one of their automated messaging systems with the person behind it said that according to their system, it's just up for renovation. However, a sign right before you got on the ride said that it was retired for the 2021 season going into 22, and they'd have a replacement sometime in the near future.
All right. Well, thank you.